I remember my feeling. What excitement, what pride, goosebumps. And I know that you all experienced it too. We were the first to act because we knew what was at stake.
Dude, Pete is upset with the ceasefire.
Winning. Decisively, devastatingly,
According to President Trump, War Secretary Pete Hegseth is disappointed about a 2-week ceasefire with Iran. He has been among the most aggressively pro-war officials to lead the Pentagon. Watch.
Mercy. We're crushing the enemy in an overwhelming display, overwhelming force, overwhelming firepower, overwhelming and unrelenting. We will not relent until the enemy is totally and decisively defeated, crippled, flattened, toast, degraded, and annihilated. Obliterated, defeated, functionally defeated, destroyed. Overwhelmingly.
Yeah, no, definitely, totally. That's real. Anyway, new negotiations updates from Dropside News. Iran-U.S. talks in Islamabad have now continued for more than 8 hours, according to Iranian media. What the is the time now? It's like 2 a.m., no? A new round of trilateral negotiations between Iran, the United States, and Pakistan began around 4 p.m. Eastern, with Pakistani officials mediating in the room. Abbas Araghchi, Mohammad Baghar Ghalibaf, and Ali Bagheri Khani are representing Iran. JD Vance work talks are ongoing. This is a consequence of intense globalism. Fascism is not based off of logic or self-survival. It's a suicidal ideology. It's all vibes-based, and the USA dominates and controls Western internet both through population and literal control. There is some truth to that. Iran's Ghalibaf met face-to-face and shook hands with Vice President JD Vance, a rare moment given decades of hostility, source New York Times. Mark Carney says, the days of our military sending 70 cents of every dollar to the United States are over. Thunderous applause. I mean, Carney is like one of the best examples of all talk, no work to show for it, if I'm being real. Like, there have been some opportunities for Mark Carney to actually make a convincing case that he truly is moving in a different trajectory. One of which was obviously going to China. He did that already, and that's fine. That's a significant move, right? And having a bilateral economic relationship with China, that's significant. But what he could have done in the last couple of months was absolutely continue sending oil to Cuba, and especially after the Supreme Court struck down Trump's tariffs, which took away Trump's capabilities of implementing ridiculous tariffs willy-nilly out of nowhere. He could have done so. He didn't. They sent a lot of humanitarian aid, and that's fine. That's great. But there have been opportunities, like one of the biggest gimmies that every middle power has right now to show that they are real, to show that they are actually invested in their own sovereignty and invested in building new coalitions against the rot that America presents around the globe, is criticizing Israel. Technically, it's not even criticizing America, although we all understand that criticizing Israel would be criticizing America. But like, it's one of those things that you could do. Pedro Sanchez is doing it right now. He's absolutely leading the way, charting a new path in developing diplomatic relations with Iran directly, even if it's aesthetic, even if it is just for aesthetics, which I think it is. Pedro Sanchez, I think, is trying to do in some ways what we're kind of seeing build in the United States of America as well, like to address the growing wave of leftist resentment. He is trying to lean into that side a little bit to maintain power in the hands of the center-left parties, in the hands of like social democratic parties, right? But even statements like that matter, because statements like that are consequential. Now, obviously, if you lead those, if you follow through on those statements with like actual economic punishments to the state of Israel, you can carve out a different path for yourself, right? Brother, he is literally in China right now. This is not aesthetics. No, going to China is I already admitted that. That's a big commitment. But that's not necessarily saying like we oppose American imperialism, we oppose American empire, we oppose the actions, the belligerent actions that America is taking that is ruining the planet. You know? Not that it matters, because with Mark Carney, for a lot of the Canadian liberals, from what I've seen, they actually really appreciate all the anti-American posturing. Seemingly, Canadians so far are not demanding material changes, right? Because his approvals are pretty high, right? From what I understand, his popularity is very high. So like even saying those words, saying we're going to chart a different trajectory for ourselves, we're going to develop sovereignty away from the United States of America, is enough for, here we go, coping about Canada. Wait, what? I'm asking a question to the Canadians in the chat. What I have seen about his approval ratings is that Canadians, by and large, actually really appreciate the things that he's said thus far. Like his Davos speech was huge, right? You know, New World Order, liberalism is failing, all this stuff. But his approval ratings wouldn't be super high right now if people realized that it wasn't just words, if there was actually some changes that were being implemented as well. I think that the deal that he cut with China was massive, and that was enough for a lot of the Canadian liberals. Like a lot of the Canadian population saw that and were like, okay, good. Like I'm happy. I'm confident. It's up. Hasanabi, even the Conservative Party members are jumping the libs right now. Yeah.
The days of our military sending 70 cents of every dollars to the United States are over.
Is it actually over though? Like that's what I'm saying. Like he's saying the right words, right? And there's an incredibly positive response to this, understandably. I mean, the very fact that he won after the party changed leadership against PP on the conservative side was directly a reaction by the Canadians who saw what conservatives represented. They hitched their horse to the wrong wagon, being a servile territory to the United States of America after Donald Trump threatened to militarily annex Canada. Whether it was a joke or not, it doesn't matter, right? That delivered a devastating blow to the conservatives. And Mark Carney recognized that, and he has been saying all the right things against the United States of America, and he is receiving tremendous popularity as a consequence of that. But Canada is still very much attached to the United States of America for understandable reasons. I mean, America is a massive consumption engine. It's right there. It could present a very real threat to Canada's national security. It's understandable to a certain degree. I'm just not seeing enough movement from Canada as far as like a forcible separation from America or setting up side deals with other middle powers, because that's the only way that these middle powers, whether it be the European Union nation states or Canada or Mexico, all these countries, they have to set up a separate bloc away from the United States of America so that they can actually preserve their sovereignty and dignity. I think that's the only way to go forward. And that bloc could present a lot of pressure. That bloc could actually put a lot of pressure on America. Like right now, there are basically every country in the Western world is frustrated with the actions that America has taken at the behest of Israel. They see it. They recognize it. If we can see it, they can see it too, right? They're frustrated because it's created tremendous instability. Energy markets in a state of panic, in a state of disarray. There's only like a finite amount of jet fuel remaining for countries like the UK. They want this to stop. They recognize that this was a ridiculous action, this ridiculously belligerent action that nobody was expecting, nobody wanted, even if they would have entertained it in the past. They very quickly realized it was a devastating move, and they're suffering the consequences of that. So how do they respond? Because given the vassalized state of all of the other countries in the Western world, they currently have no way to apply pressure to America, diplomatic pressure, no way to apply pressure to even Israel. They have to do that. If they don't do that, they're going to consistently suffer because they're stuck in this state where America tells them you're going to move in this direction, and the European populations are going to suffer the consequences of that, as they have done so. I mean, even Korea is taking a different approach now. So we'll see. The middle powers don't want to pressure the U.S. to become a normal state again. They want to decouple and reduce the leverage the U.S. has on them. The change has to come from the inside the U.S. I don't think so. I don't think they're trying to decouple from the United States that much. But, we'll see. He's literally a member of the international bourgeoisie. He was a governor of the Bank of England for I don't believe a word until he actually makes concrete steps to oppose the U.S. It seems like he's just cynically using lip service to boost his own approval, like Democrats using Trump bad instead of actual policy. Yeah, that's my assessment as well. That's what I'm saying. Because Trump is a belligerent monster that is dangerous and very unstable. So you don't know who will be on the receiving end of his mania next time. You know what I mean? His hands are full with Iran right now. And every other country around the planet should be grateful for the Iranian military retaliation, because that has caused his attention to shift and focus on just Iran, just the Strait of Hormuz. Because who knows, man? He could just turn around if this situation wasn't happening in Iran. He could just be like, all right, it's time for Cuba. We're gonna fucking Cuba. We're gonna kill Cubans. We're going to take over the Cuban island, and then we're going to take Canada. Who knows? He's already threatened to go back to Greenland the other day. Like, even amidst this quagmire, you are crazy for praising Iran? Okay, buddy. Even amidst this quagmire where, Trump is obviously a bit off, a lot more than he could chew, he's still threatening to fuck Greenland. He said it like yesterday. I love when I offer analysis, okay? And a chatter just immediately reveals, he's like, I'm just stupid. I don't understand. Like, I heard, a couple keywords in succession, and I have no way to understand the point that you're making. Okay? Thank you, chatter, for revealing how low your fuck you is. Anyway, media credibility is down. It's so down, it's in the pooper, it's in the toilet.
Doesn't have any cards. Well, they do. And as also said, the nuclear thing is 9. Well, actually, before the war, Iran had sort of committed to not developing a nuclear weapon, subject to lots of caveats. If they simply stick by that position, I think Trump could just walk away and go, we've achieved. The Strait of Hormuz is the really difficult one here.
Exactly, which in ways one can say was a creep mission. So could it be that after these talks, however many days they will continue, some sort of consensus over the Strait of Hormuz?
What is this? There's a tremendous amount happening that isn't hitting your news, and that's a good thing. You aren't looking in the right places, and that's fine. Keep us out of the spotlight for another 5 years, huh? I'm actually glad you think that. It's good cover. Yep. Right now he could. We know that. What? I don't understand. Like, what is it?
Would be that win.
And I think that's a really critical one, because my worry here is if Trump tries to negotiate the Strait of Hormuz and comes up with some compromise about allowing tolls or control, that would have profound implications globally, because that would set a precedent. Even the North Sea, Straits of Gibraltar, all over the world, that can't happen.
Creating other problems to try to solve one.
Yeah.
Sean,
Bagged milk, eh? How about bagged nukes?
thank you both.
United States and Iran have been holding face-to-face negotiations here in Pakistan. They are the highest level talks between the two sides since the 1979 diplomacy. The world's media are waiting for news of any developments. We have so far limited information about how those talks are going. What is significant is that they are continuing. But we do know that there are key sticking points to talk about. One of them is that ceasefire in Lebanon, which is missing and was meant to be part of this ceasefire, which...
Why Skinny Van still look like a fatty? How he pulled that off? I don't know. I don't know either.
Had stopped attacks against Iran. Well, my colleague Lucy Hawkins later in this program will take a closer look at what is happening on that front. But let's start here. So let's start here in Islamabad. It's been our top news all day on the BBC, and of course, it's making headlines right around the world. These first face-to-face talks between a delegation from the United States and Iran in the presence of Pakistani mediators. The goal is to try to bring an end to this war now in its 6 weeks. But there are other broader points of understanding of the differences and divides between the United States and Israel that both sides have been trying to resolve for many years. But we still don't know if they've been able to make any progress on closing those gaps. What we do know is that technical teams have joined the delegation, and that is a sign of very serious engagements. As we've been saying throughout the day, it's very frustrating for the journalists, perhaps good for the negotiators. Very little information is getting out, very few photographs and images. But when the day began, we did receive both photographs as well as films of the individual meetings between the sides. So the U.S. delegation, led by the Vice President J.D. Vance, had their own talks, bilateral talks, with the Pakistani mediators, including the Pakistani Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif, and to the Iranian delegation led by the parliamentary speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, had his own discussions accompanied by the members of his team with the senior Pakistani military and political officials. But let's look in detail now at some of the sticking points that are likely to stand in the way of any real progress in resolving the differences that have been fueling this war and could, it must be emphasized, trigger another escalation in this all too dangerous war. top of the list is now a new problem that has been put on the agenda by the war, and that is what will happen to the Strait of Hormuz, that key waterway for the world's oil and gas traffic. But it has been mainly blocked by Iran, though only those tankers and vessels approved by Iran have been getting through. And it's a very, very small number compared to the traffic before.
Does the Israelis not being there say a lot about the negotiations? Yes, it's right, both in spirit and their interests are still being considered. But they can't introduce. No, that stuff doesn't matter. Like they would do it somewhere else then if they couldn't technically enter Islamabad. But I think that the fact that these ceasefire conversations are taking place already is a significant issue for Israel. And I mean, here, I'll skip this and I'll show you why it's significant. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu issued a statement for the media because of how frustrated he is. Let's take a look.
Dear citizens of Israel, my brothers and sisters, the campaign is not yet over, but we can already state...
This was, of course, in Hebrew, just so you understand. It's like auto-translated by AI on YouTube. But like, again, it's significant that he's, this is a Hebrew response, so he'll be a lot more honest about how frustrated he is.
Clearly. We have historic achievements. I want to remember where we were. Iran tried to trap us in a ring of fire. Hamas in Gaza, Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Assad regime in Syria, the militias in Iraq, the Houthis in Yemen, and Iran itself. Meaning, they wanted to strangle us, and we are strangling them. They threatened us with annihilation, and now they are fighting to survive. We struck them, we still have more to do, and I will detail that shortly.
The worst weatherman I've ever seen. Yeah, is always hailing bombs, dude. When he gets in front of a just know, bombs are hailing, all right?
But I want to start...
Look at how small Israel actually is. Tiny nation. It is the size, as you can tell from this map, of New Jersey.
With Iran itself, the head of the...
Notice how there is no West Bank, because we've taken it.
The octopus, because I have dedicated a significant part of my life to preventing one thing. That this regime of terror gains nuclear weapons with which it seeks to destroy the Jewish state and end Jewish history. I spoke about this in Congress, at the UN, and in various parliaments. I authorized all sorts of operations, most of them covert, to delay them, and we indeed delayed them. But the world did not listen. Many said, it is not that terrible, it is not even that terrible that Iran will have nuclear weapons. I heard these voices not only outside, I heard them even within us. And I, as Prime Minister of Israel, head of the one and only Jewish state, could not accept that.
Real voice.
And the great change happened that evening of Days of Repentance, when I informed you that our courageous pilots were in the skies of Iran, striking targets all across Iran.
Fox News right now, hit piece on you, bro.
The fear of acting in Iran itself. And I remember my feeling. What excitement, what pride, goosebumps. And I know that you all experienced it too. We were the first to act because we knew what was at stake.
Dude, it's crazy that they're just doing hit piece after hit piece. It's unbelievable. Like, Fox News has decided I am the Democratic Party. Like, the Republicans are like, you know what?